Welcome back, everybody. Yay. I'm Jamie.
I'm Justina.
And this is
Just So You Know. I missed you.
I missed you too. How are you?
I'm good. I'm better now.
Okay, good.
Now that I saw your face.
Oh,
It's true.
we had such a busy couple of weeks. We were in LA for the launch party. We went to the Crispiracy premiere. And now we're finally back in New York. And we have some exciting things to talk about today.
Yeah. Oh my God. That just
Oh, God. What did I do now?
So sorry. That just reminded me of the last episode when you were like, I'm more of a entertainer.
Oh, God.
Okay, cut. I cut that part. Anyway, we do have a lot of things to say.
She can't even look at me without laughing. I don't know if that's a good thing.
It's a great thing.
Okay.
Lately, I feel like a lot of people just don't make me smile or laugh. And you do both. So that's so important.
Well, I texted you yesterday around 2 p.m. I said,
Whoa.
I just want you to know you are a ray of sunshine in my life, and I love and appreciate you. And she didn't respond for a couple hours later.
You did say that. I think I was sleeping, Jamie. Only Jamie wakes up at the crack of dawn, ready to go. She wakes up and she's like, animal liberation.
Dude, I overslept today.
Wow.
That's so unlike me.
Oh, you overslept past 7 a.m.?
It was 8:45 when I woke up, and I had a yoga class at 8. I was like, well, I missed that. I'm so
Ambitious. You're so ambitious, girl. I like rolled out of bed. I was like,
At what? Like, what was it?
I think I woke up
10:30.
8:30. I think we woke up around the same time, and I was like, do I need to put on real clothes? Do I need to put mascara on?
You look great. You really pulled it together.
Yeah,
And
early mornings are not.
Thank God for that, because today, guys, we are talking about animals. Wait, redo.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about Seaquarium, and that's going to open the door for any type of sea entertainment businesses that exploit animals.
Yes.
So we have a lot to cover.
We are talking about SeaWorld, Seaquarium. We're just talking about how animals that are used in entertainment kind of experience some really shitty things.
Entertainer.
Entertainer. So we're gonna do a deep dive into the tanks. Okay, let's get a sound effect in there, and we're gonna look at how these abusement parks.
Whoa.
But I was like, I gotta get this in here.
But that's what she did.
What goes on with the whales, the dolphins, all the fish, the otters.
Dude, I have just the worst memories of like aquariums, SeaWorld, the worst memories.
So you went to these places. Tell me about it.
Of course, when I was a kid. I remember it. I think I might have been like in 6th grade or 7th grade. My dad thought it was going to be really cool. And instead of me going with my school to Disney World, he was going to take us himself and bring us to SeaWorld, which at first I was really excited about when I was a kid. Like I've always loved animals, super excited. Wasn't excited about the whole group that was coming with us, but it was exciting. I saw that there was like a petting area for the stingrays.
Oh, great. Just what the stingrays want.
Right. But it's so crazy because at the time, I obviously was not vegan.
Yeah.
I knew about animal cruelty, but I would never think that places like that would be exploiting animals. And I even considered like, oh my God, maybe one day I could work here. But I noticed how horrible the people who were just going there were to the animals. Like the kids just throwing their hands in the water, like touching the animals like if there were not living beings that actually feel. Yeah. And I was like judging the kids and like the parents for being so reckless with how they were interacting with them. And I remember the grand finale, after I was already crying the whole time because I was crying about every animal. Can you imagine? Just younger me just being like, oh no, he looks sad.
I can definitely imagine that.
I like just always knew when like an animal anywhere was like upset. I'm like, no, he looks so upset. And everyone's like, Justina, relax. He's fine. They take care of him. They love him. The people here love them. And I was just like, bullshit.
It's actually kind of interesting that you were able to see that and make the connection, because I think a lot of people go to these abusement parks for entertainment. They have good intentions. They want to spend time with the animals because they love them, and you want to see them up close. You may even want to swim with them, right?
Right.
So they put on a show. I mean, the trainers make it look like the animals want to do these flips in the air, and they deprive them of food and in order to get them to do things. So it's interesting that you were able to kind of look past that and say, wait a second, this doesn't actually seem like something that the animals, these wild animals, want to do. Maybe they are suffering.
Right. I don't know why I was one of the very few kids that felt this way, because no one else was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was that actual connection or I just felt it.
Yeah, well, I had the opposite experience. I went to SeaWorld. I think I was 6 or 7
years old.
You loved it.
You were like, whoa!
I was like,
oh my God. I want to jump on that. I want to jump on that. You were that kid that I was judging. Like,
in my 3rd grade, I think we got like some type of assignment in class, and it was, what do you want to be when you're older? And I actually said a dolphin trainer at SeaWorld, because I thought they were the coolest things ever. I was like, they get to play with them, jump with them. They're best friends with the dolphins. I was like, I want to do this. So it's interesting how people could have 2 totally different reactions to this. But today in this episode, we're going to break down how these animals even get to places like Miami Seaquarium or SeaWorld to begin with. We're going to talk about the tactics that the trainers use, the conditions that they live in, and offer alternatives and solutions to going to these amusement parks. What are other ways that you can have fun with your kids and bring them to see animals? And we will get into that later in this episode. We have Melanie Johnson coming on.
Yay.
She's an awesome guest she's actually the senior manager of animals and entertainment at PETA. And so she's going to kind of answer our pressing questions.
Yeah.
So before we get there, what are 5 things that you know about whales, dolphins, maybe about Miami Seaquarium or SeaWorld?
Okay, that's a big range. Well,
just give me 5 facts.
Just give me 5 facts about all these topics. The first thing that comes to mind is that orca whales, right? Like when I think about Seaquariums, SeaWorld, I think about the orca whale. And it brings me back to the movie Free Willy. I can't tell you how many times I watched that movie. I was obsessed with that movie. And I learned that orcas are very, very tight-knit with their families. Like they love their families. They flourish. They're I guess you could say pack-oriented species.
Yeah, they're sensitive, and I think that's a really good fact. And if more people knew just how intelligent and sensitive they are, they probably would be against them being taken from their families, put in a bathtub their entire lives, and forced to perform tricks for the entertainment of humans.
Horrible.
My fact is that those same orcas are actually
Orcas.
Come on, help me out here. Those same orcas are covered in sunburns, and when they're in these tanks, they're unable to go super deep like they normally would in the wild, and so they get sunburned. And so what they do at SeaWorld is they cover them in black zinc oxide to cover it up.
What is that?
It's to make it look like they're not actually sunburned.
So they put paint on them?
Yeah.
Is that also like agitating?
No, I think it might actually help
them.
Yeah, protect them.
But it's a disguise.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, they also have tilted dolphin fins.
Okay, that's another fact I was going to say. That's an indication that they are not healthy. They are not in the right conditions to live a
and SeaWorld will come out and say, oh, that's totally normal. That's how whales are. And then when you look at them in the wild, their dolphin fins are...
Yeah. Straight up.
What's it called? Dorsal fins.
Dorsal fins. Yeah. Liar! They are not like that. I know. When I learned that, I was like...
Shocking. So another fact is, speaking of Tillicum, he killed 3 people. It makes sense?
It makes sense. I mean, when you're oppressed and you're stuck and you literally have nowhere to go. Oh, God, I don't want to.
Well, I don't think he did it to be malicious. I think, obviously he's in a tank. He's... doesn't have anywhere to go. He sees a human. Maybe he thinks it's fun to play with, and so I
saw a blackfish, and I feel like it was. I I think these animals don't understand, or maybe they do, that they could kill people, but they're just acting like themselves. And it's like, obviously we were not meant to be that close and imprison these animals. Of course they're going to retaliate.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Well, like, here's another fact. Dolphins can actually swim up to 60 miles per day, and whales can swim over 150 miles per day.
Horrible.
Imagine being stuck in a tank that small. I get claustrophobic thinking about it.
Yeah. Like, that's like torture.
Not for, a week. How about for over 50 years?
No.
Yeah. So my next fact is that these animals, killer whales in particular, can live over, I think, 80 years.
Wow.
Give or take 50 to 80 years in the wild. And then in captivity, their lives are significantly shorter. Their life expectancies are shorter.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
I do know there's a lot of violence that happens between the animals there.
That's a good fact.
Because they are in such, like, tight, they're like, because I think they speak different languages, right? Like, I think different whales, they have different frequencies. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Different dialects.
And they don't get along sometimes. And then they're stuck to be with each other.
Right. Well, in the wild, they can choose who they want to be with.
Exactly. They're like, this is my family. This is my tribe.
Yeah.
We don't like each other. We could stay on that side of the ocean. And we stay on this side. They don't have that option there. So it's like really... it's really difficult, and there's a lot of fights that happen between them.
Yeah, they beat each other up.
Yeah.
So this is my next fact, is that in 1965, the first ever orca show at SeaWorld was performed by a female orca named Shamu. Shamu. Yes. In 1965. Yeah, that was my fact.
Wow.
Into the next segment, guys, we are going to present you with what the problem is and kind of give you a first whale perspective. Not first person, first whale perspective. I'm going to tell a little story.
Whale of a tale, and it's so true, I swear by my tattoo. Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, long story short, we got businesses like SeaWorld that present themselves as an educational, fun establishment that allows families to come and be with the animals, and they fail to admit that they abuse the animals physically, emotionally, and instead of these parks choosing to stick with like a humane business model, which is to not have animals in the oceans.
I was going to say, what is the humane?
They profit very heavily off of it. I mean, we're talking like billions of dollars.
How do people live with themselves knowing that they are torturing animals and abusing them? It's crazy. And that's your business. Your business is that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a little over 53 years ago, there was a whale. Her name was Lolita. And I thought it would be interesting to share a little narration that I wrote from her perspective to kind of put things into perspective for you all.
Another one of those horrible stories. All
right, close your eyes. All right. I remember the day vividly, even though it feels like a lifetime ago. My family and I were swimming freely, our pod gliding effortlessly through the waters. We were happy, content in our natural habitat, unaware of the looming threat that would shatter our world. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The tranquility of the ocean was shattered by the deafening roar of engines and the sound of frantic splashing. Men in boats descended upon us, their intentions clear as they corralled us into a net, trapping us in our own home. I fought with all my strength, thrashing against the confines of the net as fear coursed through my veins. My mother was screaming, a sound I had never heard before. The water surrounding us turned bright red. The journey that followed was a blur of terror and confusion. The vast expanse of the ocean was replaced by the suffocating confines of a tiny concrete tank. I watched as my fellow captive, my only companion in his bleak existence, succumbed to the madness of captivity. I was a prisoner, condemned to a life of misery and solitude for over 53 years. My life may have been stolen from me, but my spirit will live on, a testament to the cruelty of those who profit from the exploitation of innocent creatures like myself. Lolita, she died in the world's smallest orca tank at the Seaquarium recently, and there had been talk or plans to move her to a sanctuary, but she did not make it to that point. It was too late.
Horrible.
So that is Lolita's story.
Yeah. Sad. It's horrible.
And unfortunately,
53 years. Yikes.
There's other animals that are still residing there. And so PETA is calling on Seaquarium to send the dolphins and some of the other animals there. There's Corky is another whale that's still alive. More than 54 years ago, Corky was torn away from her family. And she's been confined longer than any orca. And so PETA is calling on Seaquarium, or calling on SeaWorld and Seaquarium to release some of these animals to a seaside sanctuary, which with all the money that they have, these things could be built. And it's basically where they're brought to an ocean sanctuary where they can swim freely but still be able to receive food and care. And
I've never done the whole swimming with dolphins and all that stuff. Something in probably my intuition knew. Don't do it, Justina. Don't do it. It's selfish. I always was like, that's selfish. I don't want to like hold them and make them do these things.
I mean, if we want to talk about swimming with the dolphins real quick and touch on that, it was something I did years ago. We were in Mexico, and I must have been like 10 or 11, and my mom saw it as an excursion, something for us to do, and we went in the tanks with them. And, you know, the dolphins have these like little faces where they always look like they're smiling, and they do these tricks where you have two dolphins come up under your feet. They're so cute, and they make these sounds. They come up under your feet, and they lift you up, and you're like riding on top of them. And oh my God, looking back, I am so mortified that I did this.
It's okay.
Because I'm like, wow, those dolphins, like, they don't want to be like lifting me up with their noses and
what
riding.
the heck?
I know.
I get so angry when I see grown-ass adults. I'm like, get your little... I'm going to say something really bad. So they get your fat ass down from that elephant nose, you psychopath.
Yeah.
You really think that's normal?
No. So these dolphins that are kept in these tanks or these pools where people swim with them, they're kidnapped from their families oftentimes. They actually slaughter some of the when they capture them in the wild, they slaughter some of the ones that they deem unattractive.
What?
Yeah.
Who deems a dolphin attractive or not attractive?
Yeah, it's like, look in the mirror.
Like,
look in the mirror.
First of all, I'm sure you're hideous, obviously. And secondly, like, what?
Yeah.
All animals, I'm sorry. Sorry, humans. All animals are beautiful. Humans, I don't know.
I don't know about
but,
that.
like, animals are all beautiful. How can you be like, this dolphin's not...
Yeah, and not only that, these animals, they suffer many illnesses, including viral, fungal, bacterial infections inside these tanks. They're not given proper care, and they also use some of them as breeding machines. So they sometimes have to drug the dolphins to take them out of the water to forcefully impregnate them.
Yikes.
And then they have babies, and it's that same cycle. So,
oh my God, the trauma.
Don't swim with dolphins.
Trauma tanks.
Trauma tanks.
That's insane.
Love that. Yeah. Love the word that you came
I was
up
like,
for it.
love that. I'm like,
I don't love a trauma tank.
You're like, trauma tank. Love that.
I'm just trying to think. So I like, certain kinds of traumas, but
whoa, I
sounds
don't.
Sexy, no? No, okay, we're not
no,
going there.
please,
No.
I'm sick of it. The
Not
older you
with
get,
dolphins.
Jamie, the trauma is not sexy. It's exhausting, and it's like, ick.
Really?
Yes.
I like to change things up a little. That's just me, but we're not talking about dolphins here, by the way, you guys. We're just talking about my
humans
sick world that I live in. Anyway.
Whoa. Inside to Jamie's world.
Okay, next.
Next topic. Anyway.
Next topic. So let's go into the history of things. SeaWorld. Let's start with SeaWorld. It was established in 1964.
Okay.
And Seaquarium was actually established in 1955, so a few years before.
Okay.
But they started kidnapping animals in the wild. They slaughter some of the herd. They confine them to these tiny prisons for the rest of their lives.
That was the decade where everything was hitting the fan. Like, it was just like, y'all were some twisted individuals.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Wars.
Y'all ruined everything.
Yeah, it just goes to show humanity at its finest, worst. I don't know. But within those years, SeaWorld has killed over 40 orcas, over 500 dolphins, many other animals, and they also deprive them of food, as we said. They sometimes have over 100 dolphins crammed into small tanks.
No.
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
This is interesting. In 2021, SeaWorld, then they basically started saying that they have a conservation program set up.
Okay.
We're like, okay, how do you save animals or rescue animals
from their natural habitat?
From their natural habitat, yeah. But either way, they only contributed about 1% of the company's profits to this conservation fund that they set up. And the point is that whatever efforts they're trying to make to help animals, it's far outweighed by the numbers of deaths. And they sell animal products at their amusement parks.
Yeah, it's all a big ball of contradiction.
Yeah. You're like selling body parts of animals for people to eat, but then you're also like having them perform. You love them. Make up your mind.
Yeah, it's so true.
The point is that true conservation, whatever SeaWorld's definition of that is, does not involve imprisoning animals for entertainment.
No.
And instead, if they
Entertainment.
Entertainment. And if they really wanted to help animals, they would open up these seaside sanctuaries.
Right.
And allow them the freedom to be in a way bigger setup where they can, swim freely, feel the ocean.
I'm sorry, wait. What is a seaside sanctuary?
I think a seaside sanctuary would be something where
The middleman,
okay. Exactly. And then
or
ultimately
woman.
They would get food, they would get veterinary support, but they would be able to really feel the ocean currents and live sort of like how they would live in the wild.
Right, at least get some fresh water, because a tank, let's be honest, like I even feel bad for my poor cats that I rescued.
Yeah, well, wait till you hear about some of the citations the county actually gave Miami Seaquarium, being like, dude, you have to change this. You cannot keep these animals the way that you're keeping them. I mean, it's dirty. They found a nail in one of the dolphins' throats.
Shut the fuck up.
So the county had been trying to shut them down too. But what's very cool and what's interesting, so Miami Seaquarium, it was established in 1955. Or Seaquarium was established in 1955. And of course, they grew to what they are today. But it's ending. Did you hear that?
I did hear that. Good riddance. Off with their head.
They are not renewing their lease. Not because they didn't want to, but because the county and public pressure and PETA and other organizations that have been fighting Miami Seaquarium and raising awareness, they are now being forced to leave.
Well, it's about dang time. Like, why do we have to wait so many years?
Yeah.
It's wrong. We know it. End.
And then look at Lolita, who never even got a chance to escape because she died.
So sad.
So yeah, I mean, the problem with Miami Seaquarium was it includes all the other issues that we spoke about, but also you have one staff veterinarian that is responsible for the care of over 46 marine animals, 50 birds, hundreds of fish, and you saw that they were late for, exams, and the dolphin was found with a nail in their throat.
That is insanity.
So we are witnessing some progress here. People are starting to become more aware. Blackfish is a great documentary we were talking about where people saw the treatment of these orcas, and people were like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go to SeaWorld anymore.
Yeah, that movie was huge. I was in college when that movie came out, and I remember I was trying to tell people about it, and they were really scared to watch it because they didn't want to know that like their childhood was based upon cruelty
and lies. Liar. So in our next segment, we have a special guest, Melanie Johnson, coming on, and she's going to answer some of our more pressing questions about SeaWorld, Miami Seaquarium, and other industries that use animals for entertainment. We touched on some of the conditions at SeaWorld and Miami Seaquarium, but what are some of the things that you've seen through undercover investigation footage?
Yikes.
We've had visitors to marine parks like SeaWorld and the Miami Seaquarium report seeing violent attacks among orcas, leaving them bleeding. There have also been dolphins attacking trainers out of frustration. We know from U.S. Department of Agriculture inspection reports some of the conditions, like you mentioned, the dolphin who was found with a 2-inch nail in his throat,
Crazy.
also enclosures just in dangerous disrepair. The Seaquarium failing to follow its own attending veterinarian's instructions. So just horrible things like that.
So what are some of the kinds of demos and ways that you've brought this issue to the public's attention at PETA?
PETA is well known for our eye-catching protests. So we have done things like body painted orcas in bathtubs, costume dolphins leading chants, and our protests outside the Miami-Dade County Mayor's office recently was just one of the tactics that PETA used to get the county to terminate the Seaquarium's lease.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Seriously. Why do you think it took so long?
Yeah, so the county, it needed to show good reason to terminate the lease. And one of the conditions for their lease agreement with the Seaquarium was adherence to the Federal Animal Welfare Act. And so it's because of all of those recent U.S. Department of Agriculture inspections that gave the county cause to terminate the lease. So of course we thought it should have been shut down decades ago.
Right.
It definitely should have been, but it's because of those USDA inspection reports and all of the public outcry that gave the county the push that it needed to be able to terminate the lease.
You know, my mom lives 10 minutes from Miami Seaquarium, so I've been to a protest there, and there's a group of activists in Miami that every Sunday, every single weekend, they were there at Miami Seaquarium, handing out flyers, protesting, trying to educate. I mean, they really, it shows how much there were so many people involved that cared, that did as much as they could to educate. So this is a huge victory and a huge win for the animals. And I think it's important to look at the victories because it gives us optimism. It allows us to keep going, to keep fighting as hard as we are, because every little victory is a big deal, and it's going to have a massive ripple effect when it comes to decreasing the number of animals who are suffering.
100%. But this organization, you said the animal welfare something, what did you say?
The Federal Animal Welfare Act.
Right.
That's what these companies have to adhere to.
Right. So are there like yearly inspections? Are there like why now is my question. I'm happy and I'm excited about that victory, but I'm like, wait, why now? Like, what was the tipping point for them? Like, if they are failing these things, they're letting them pass. Is it just because people have to scream to the top of their lungs this is wrong in order for them to stop these things? Like, do these requirements and like, do they not technically matter?
So unfortunately, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there are just so many animal exhibitors and a very limited number of USDA inspectors that it's difficult for them to go to all of these places. And even when they are cited, like the Miami Seaquarium, sometimes they're allowed to stay in business for years. Like another example is Carson and Barnes Circus. They have elephants. They have been cited for more than 100 violations of the Animal Welfare Act, but they're still in business.
Crazy.
So that's why it's really important for people like us to do our part, tell everyone why it's wrong and don't go. And that's really what's going to lead the change, is people not going to SeaWorld, not going to the Seaquarium, and then that's what will shut them down.
Yeah, that's really important, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, if it was really that bad, they wouldn't still be running. They would shut them down. But that's not the case, people. So if you see something, say something. Don't support it. Keep spreading the word.
Bystanders are just as bad. So my question next is this a problem outside of Seaquarium, SeaWorld? What really is the scale of this issue of using marine animals for entertainment?
So SeaWorld and the Miami Seaquarium are some of the worst places for marine animals on the planet. But unfortunately, they are not the only ones. You mentioned going swimming with the dolphins before. There are hundreds of swim with the dolphins facilities all over the world. Crazy. Where animals who would typically swim up to 60 miles a day are confined to these tiny tanks or lagoons. They're, forced to interact with the public, who they would naturally avoid humans, of course,
Right.
Constantly touched against their will,
Oh my gosh.
forced to pull people or push people on their rostrums, like you mentioned. So it is a big business, and that's just another reason why we need to educate people so they don't go swim with the dolphins when they're going on vacation, so they
Right.
don't visit marine parks.
Right. That's the tricky part, is that it's so big, right? It's not just these big names. There's so many little individual businesses that we have no idea
I think
about.
a general rule of thumb is if there's an animal involved, question it, maybe don't go.
Yeah.
But what should people do instead? If they're looking for a fun activity for their kids, it's a weekend, or maybe they're on vacation, is there an ethical way to interact with these animals?
Yeah.
So there is no ethical way to interact with any wild animal, because getting up close in rides, photo ops, and other encounters like that are highly stressful for any wild animal, whether they're a dolphin, an elephant, a tiger. And many dolphins who are used for encounters like this actually develop painful conditions like stomach ulcers, and they may even die early because they're so stressed out because of their confinement. They're also dangerous to the humans too. Like, so many illnesses can be transferred from dolphins to humans.
Oh, wow.
And people have been bitten by dolphins and have gotten broken bones from swimming with them too.
So how can people, if they want to help, get involved?
That's a great question. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I would say the biggest thing is to just, of course, never go to a marine park, never swim with dolphins. Tell all of your family and friends to do the same, explain why they're so cruel. And people can also go to our website, PETA.org, and sign our petitions urging SeaWorld to send Corky the orca and the other animals there to seaside sanctuaries.
That's helpful. Yeah, definitely advocating. I mean, PETA still does a lot of protests, and so you can go on Facebook or find your local animal rights group, even organize one yourself. I know you guys have a lot of flyers and information that you give people for free if they want to educate. And I remember when I was at Miami Seaquarium, we were handing out a ton of information to people as they were entering, as they were leaving the parks. It was very, very helpful.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's a platform for people, if they were to go and they see something, that they can contact someone about these issues?
Yeah, so of course we encourage people to never visit these places, but some people, they don't know and they go anyway, so they can contact PETA with what they've seen. That's how we've heard about, these orca attacks. That's how we've gotten some really compelling footage. Someone who went to SeaWorld sent us this video of this orca who was just floating listlessly in a tank, and it was so sad. And because of that video, millions of people saw it, and undoubtedly many people decided not to go to SeaWorld because of that video. So, of course, don't go to these places, but contact PETA if you have any footage or have any complaints about animals who are suffering.
Right. The only way we support you going is if you're going to investigate.
Also, if you're going to do a big disruption inside of there.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I love it. We can go in as if we're just, park goers, and then just next thing bust out the signs, bust out the posters.
Right.
How do you feel about that, Melanie?
Well, PETA has definitely done our share of disruptions. Actually, a few years ago, we teamed up with James Cromwell, and we disrupted one of SeaWorld's orca shows. And, that video went viral, and, he told everyone about the orca's premature deaths. That disruption was actually just right after the death of a 3-month-old orca. So it was very timely and really made a huge difference.
That's so awesome. Well, guys, let's keep getting creative. Thank you for all that you do for raising awareness. We're very appreciative to have you on.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's so interesting how people love dolphins. They love whales. I remember my mom told me, she's like, the one tattoo that I wanted to get but didn't ever end up getting was dolphins on my ankle.
You're like, why?
I'm like, why?
Mom, why?
You were the one that sent me to go swim with them. Okay.
Like, do you eat sushi?
Yes, but you guys know the drill. Please go to PETA.org. Help us get this message out there for these marine animals that are trapped in these abusement parks. We freaking love you. Please rate this podcast, subscribe to it. We got a few 1-star ratings the other day, so please give us a 5-star.
We got a 1-star hater. Just kidding.
Hater. They called us Karens that are trying to push and force our beliefs down people's throat.
The topics that we bring to the table on this podcast are not the most pleasant, but they're the most important.
Lives are at risk here, so
yeah.
Thank you so much for everybody that supports us, and we
thank you so much.
Appreciate you. And guys, you know the drill. Follow me at It's Jamie's Corner.
I'm at Justina.Justina.
And until next time, we'll be back. We'll be back.